Okay, good.
Okay. നമസ്കാരം. ശരണ്യ ആയുർവേദ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലും അക്ഷിത് ഫൗണ്ടേഷനും കൂടി ചേർന്ന് നടത്തുന്ന കോവിഡ് അവയർനെസ് പ്രോഗ്രാമിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. സാസ് കോവിഡ് എന്ന വില്ലൻ നമുക്കിടയിലേക്ക് വന്നിട്ട് 1.5 വർഷത്തിലധികമായിരിക്കും. ഇന്നും ഈ മഹാമാരിയുടെ ഭീതിയെയും രോഗത്തെയും ജയിക്കുവാനും നമുക്ക് സാധിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. കൃത്യതയാർന്ന ചികിത്സാ രീതിയും ശാസ്ത്രീയമായ ഡോക്യുമെന്റേഷൻസും കൊണ്ട് കോവിഡ് ചികിത്സ ആയുർവേദത്തിലൂടെ ലോകത്തിന് മുന്നിൽ അതിന്റെ ശ്രദ്ധ ആകർഷിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു. തേർഡ് വേവ് എന്ന ഈ പുതിയ വേവിനെ പേടിച്ചുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇന്ന് ഈ ജനത മുഴുവനും നിൽക്കുന്നത്. ഈ സമയത്ത് ആയുർവേദത്തിന്റെ സാധ്യതകളെ തുറന്നു കാണിക്കാൻ ശരണ്യ ആയുർവേദ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലും അക്ഷിത് ഫൗണ്ടേഷനും ചേർന്ന് നടത്തുന്ന കോവിഡ് അവയർനെസ് പ്രോഗ്രാമിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒന്നുകൂടി സ്വാഗതം. So talking about the Akshit Foundation, Coimbatore Akshit Foundation is nothing new. It is a non-profit, non-governmental organization which is based on the Coimbatore and has been guided by Mr. K.K. Ravi, our Ravi uncle. He and his team is working for spreading awareness about the blood donation, organ donation, etc. They also give the medical help for the thalassemia and cancer in children. I welcome Ravi sir to the session. And to start with the session on Ayurvedic perspective on COVID-19. COVID-19 എന്നതിന്റെ ആയുർവേദ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവിനെ കുറിച്ച്, ആയുർവേദം എങ്ങനെ അതിനെ നോക്കിക്കാണുന്നു എന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ചിട്ട് ഇന്ന് നമ്മളോട് സംസാരിക്കുവാനുള്ളത് ഡോക്ടർ കേശവൻ സാറാണ്. I consider this as my great opportunity to invite you, Dr. Keshavan sir. I really invite you with all my heart to this program, sir. Talking about Dr. P.T. Keshavan Nambishan sir, he hails his lineage from a traditional Vaidya family of old Malabar region. His grandfather, Dr. P.T. Nambishan, popularly known as the Mannur Nambishan, has served as royal physician to Maharaja of Mysore. Dr. Keshavan sir has completed his graduation from JSS Ayurveda College, Mysore with flying colors. He has undergone extensive academic orientation from his very young age in Vedas and Sanskrit literature. Presently, he is working as Deputy Chief Medical Officer in the Aryaveda Chikitsalayam and Research Institute, Coimbatore. I invite you personally to this program, sir. So we'll start.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Rohini, for the introduction. It's my privilege. I'm honored to be invited to this platform.
Thank you, sir.
As everyone is aware, COVID-19 has been a universal catastrophe. So it's been a pandemic that has led to a lot of dramatic loss of human life, and it has presented with a great challenge to public healthcare system. Among all other traits in the society, the public healthcare system has been severely hit by the COVID-19, particularly in a developing and a poor nation like India, with a billion plus population, where more than 70% of them are living below the poverty line. The public health care system has been stretched to the limit, and in some cases it has been even exposed. So in this scenario, even though the allopathic healthcare system has been the primary healthcare provider right across the world, including India, the relevance of Ayurveda as a healthcare system, which has risen to the challenges of treating COVID-19, has to be acknowledged and highlighted. So in this aspect, I would say that Ayurveda Pharmacy Coimbatore has been taking the lead under the dynamic leadership of Padma Shri late Krishna Kumarji. As many of them are aware that he was one of the first person who spoke about the what you can say, the potential of Ayurveda in a meeting chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As many of the people know that, and you can see it in the YouTube also, he was very forceful in advocating the efficacy of Ayurveda and how protocol has to be made in terms of Ayurvedic treatment. So we can say that in India, AVP, Ayurveda Pharmacy, has taken a lead in this aspect. We have also done many clinical studies wherein the efficacy of Ayurvedic treatment in COVID-19 has been proven. And I think the near future, 1 or 2 papers will be published, which is under peer review. Even in our hospital, we have been treating COVID patients, and I have to always highlight that the Tamil Nadu government was one of the first state government which gave permission to treat COVID-19 with Ayurveda as well as Siddha. And that has given us an opportunity to treat COVID patients. In our hospital also, both online and offline, we have been treating and managing COVID patients of varying degrees of severity. Even as many people know, in Charanya Hospital, we had even established a COVID treatment center where almost 80 to 100 patients have successfully undergone exclusive Ayurvedic treatment for COVID care. So, to put everything in perspective, I can say with some degree of confidence that Ayurveda as a healthcare system has risen to the challenge of treating COVID-19. And even now, as we are going towards a potential third wave, the role of Ayurveda as a healthcare system becomes even more important. And I would like to share the experience of our medical team in managing COVID patients, and we will try to discuss all the perspectives of COVID management in Ayurveda. Dr. Rohini.
Hello, sir.
Dr. Rohini.
Yes.
So the platform is open for discussion.
Right. So there are many. Hello. Yes. Sir, usually COVID talk വരുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ ഒരുപാട് പേര് എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ലോങ് ടോക്സ് ആണ്. So it's happy that you give us the space to talk for the public to ask the questions. So this is an open forum where all the public in the സംശയം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും they can ask they can raise their hands അല്ലെങ്കിൽ chatൽ doubts ഇടാം, or else we'll start our discussions. Sir, one of a major doubt നമ്മൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ളത്, many knows that first wave കഴിഞ്ഞു, second wave കഴിഞ്ഞു, and we are expecting the third wave and all. So for a layman, ഒരു സാധാരണ ആൾക്ക് to know what is this എന്നുള്ളത്, like every waves ഡെൽറ്റ ആണ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ തീറ്റയാണ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അവർ ഫംഗസിനെ നെയിം ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്, റൈറ്റ്? പക്ഷെ ആയുർവേദം അതിനെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് നോക്കി കാണുന്നത്? വാട്ട് ഈസ് അവർ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് ഓൺ ദീസ് തിങ്സ്? ഫസ്റ്റ് വേവിന്റെയും സെക്കൻഡ് വേവിന്റെയും അടിസ്ഥാനപ്പെടുത്തി വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദ ഡിഫറൻസസ് ദാറ്റ് ആയുർവേദ can contribute?
As many of the experts are telling, the third wave may be sporadic and it may not be as bad as the second wave. So, see, the mutation is part and parcel of any virus or any organism. So, as you are trying to get over COVID, the virus is also trying to survive and mutate. So, that's a continuous struggle happening, and it will take a long time with all the vaccinations and the natural immunity with the continuous exposure the population gets. So it's a long drawn process. We have to rise to the challenge, but Ayurveda as a treatment modality is ready to face those challenges, and fundamentally the Ayurvedic medical system is so strong that it can and will always be able to rise to the challenges of treating COVID-19 in any form.
Right. Sir, first wave വന്ന സമയത്തും second wave വന്ന സമയത്തും I think there will be a lot of patients. You being more of a clinician, OP യിൽ ഒരുപാട് പേര് OP അല്ലെങ്കിൽ IPD ലെവലിൽ you have seen many of the patients coming to you telling that I'm having the COVID. So from this first wave to the second wave, what are the challenges that you faced in your practice?
Initially, during the first wave, because the virus was an unknown entity and the protocols were not properly set, the challenges were, it was like what you can say, in certain ways we were doing trial and error kind of treatment protocols, which is true in every system of medicine. So when you look at all the protocols which were devised in 2020, and there has been a constant change depending on the outcome and the progress of the disease and the new information and knowledge you collect from the whole spread of the infection and other things. Luckily, and most of the COVID cases we treated, see, we have to accept we have to give it to the patients for believing in Ayurveda. Fortunately, you can say that almost 60 to 70% of patients whom I have treated and our medical team has treated, more than 60-70 patients were our regular patients. So already they have the confidence in the science, and they also wanted to explore the possibility of Ayurvedic management for COVID. So in majority of the cases, since most of the patients were our follow-ups and regular patients or patients who were known to our regular patients, our job became easy, and the confidence level they already had also carried it forward in the COVID management also. And in most of the cases, since the hospital had to follow the COVID protocols, most of the patients were treated online. I don't remember, maybe very few cases. I don't even remember treating anyone offline. But most of the cases have been either through phone or online. So we had good medicine delivery system wherein the patients, we had the facilities to send. See, you will be surprised to hear that even our team or the medical team were treating patients right across India. So I have treated patients in far off places like Kashmir, Delhi, even Jaipur. The good thing was the courier system was there, wherein the medicines could be sent overnight. For example, a person in Delhi, if I consult in the evening around 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the delivery man comes and takes the medicine, and it is sent through airmail. And by next day noon, the medicines are delivered. So that was a very important part. See, you have to treat the patient, and you have to prescribe the medications which are effective in such conditions. And it is very difficult for you to get all the medicines in far off places and in North India, where the Kerala system of Ayurveda is not so prevalent. So we have risen to the challenge, and we have been treating cases. Initially, there was a lot of apprehension and the psychosis, the mass hysteria which was generated. People were the name of COVID-19 and a person becoming COVID positive virtually became a social stigma in the society, and that had to be overcome. That has almost gone. And nowadays we see patients who call up and say they are COVID positive and they need treatment. Initially, it was like COVID positive patient or a family was virtually boycotted. It was like an outcast in the society. So from that level, we have been able to manage, and we were able to treat most of the cases successfully. And at the end of the day, what I always believe is in many cases, in challenging cases, integration of allopathy and Ayurveda is very important. So I am not sitting here only to treat a patient only with Ayurveda. If the patient needs an allopathic care, in see, as you know that the data shows almost 95% to 98% of the patients are asymptomatic or with minimum symptoms. So those group can be completely covered with Ayurvedic management. So you have some 2-3% of the population who have comorbidities in terms of diabetes, hypertension, cancer, kidney failure, heart diseases, where the body's immune system is weak, and the COVID symptoms sometimes affect them very badly. So in such cases, we have been using Ayurvedic protocol, as well as we tell them to continue the allopathic protocol what they are on. And in such cases also, where integration has happened, the recovery has been very good, and it has been with minimal after effects. So the first phase of COVID-19 management was a phase where there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of what you call reluctance also in some patients who are not confident about whether Ayurveda can manage such conditions, but we have overcome that. And it's a word of mouth publicity. So every, see, at the end of the day, your own patient is your best advertiser. Whatever you say on social media platforms, at the end of the day, when someone recommends you or your friend tells you go and meet you go to this particular hospital, that carries more weightage. In that sense, the word of mouth publicity has helped us to treat more COVID patients. Even in the second wave, people were almost have accepted the reality that Ayurveda as a medical intervention is effective with minimum side effects. So
Right.
Third wave, I'm pretty confident that more patients will opt for Ayurvedic management.
Of course, then. That's right, sir. Even first wave in the Samayatum, second wave in the Samayatum, I think in the first wave, we were actually trying to find out what can be a protocol with Ayurvedic medicines to start up with. But by the time of second wave, we were pretty sure that these medicines have this much of effect, even this cytokine storm മറ്റ് കോംപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസിൽ പോവാതെ ആ മെഡിസിൻസിന് നമ്മുടെ മെഡിസിൻസ് വെച്ച് അത്രത്തോളം എത്താമെന്നുള്ളതിന്റെ ഒരു കോൺഫിഡൻസ് by the time of second wave we had that. It all happened because of the first wave time where we had that pilot study and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been an ongoing process, and we have based on our experience and what knowledge we could retrieve from the by treating in the first and second wave, we will be carrying it forward to the third wave also.
Right, sir. Sir, I think one of the participants had a question, like lung fibrosis, engane Ayurveda reediyil bhedamakkam. I think it is more with post-COVID condition. Post-COVID lulla lung fibrosis polathu aayirikkam. Engane Ayurveda bhedamakkam.
Now, anyhow, at present, we are talking about COVID-19. Post-COVID lung fibrosis is a very common occurrence in many of the aged people, and with the primary complications of long-term respiratory conditions like asthma, people who are having certain systemic diseases like what you call SLE, and you have scleroderma-like condition, and exclusively also in many cases. See, it is very difficult for us to predict what would be the after effect of COVID in most of the cases. So one person may get fibrosis, the second person may get diabetes, the third person may get a different condition. Even I have seen post COVID viral arthritis also. So lung fibrosis can be effectively managed with Ayurveda. when I say about lung fibrosis or pulmonary fibrosis, we have a medically accepted term called as ILD, which is mostly an autoimmune trigger. And we have been, apart from the COVID, we have been treating ILD or lung fibrosis successfully with Ayurveda. So even in post-COVID lung fibrosis also, except for some emergency conditions where allopathic management may be needed, long-term perspective where the disease process has to be slowed down and the quality of life has to be sustained over a period of time, Ayurveda offers the best solution.
Right. I think there is someone who is waiting for a question. Satish sir, please.
Yeah, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, some of the people, they used to follow the Ayurvedic from the beginning, from the childhood days, they used to follow. But now the people, some of the people, due to COVID, they are changing for suddenly for Ayurvedic. How their body will affect, how their body will face to Ayurvedic, sir. Suddenly changing from this to this one. So how they
Majority of the time, the switchover doesn't affect any patient, because like COVID also, now since we are talking about COVID, in 90% of the regular patients we see, there is always a switchover happening from the allopathy to Ayurveda completely or incompletely. Maybe for an example, a patient is having long-term diabetes, he wants to take Ayurveda. There is always a scope wherein Ayurveda and allopathy can be concomitantly, simultaneously or parallelly started, and the allopathic medications can be stopped, or in some cases if the diabetes level is very minimal, I will tell the patient to completely switch over to Ayurveda and stop allopathy. So these are case-to-case basis, but any switchover from Ayurveda, allopathy to Ayurveda doesn't present any kind of problem in patient management. It's very rare, but we have to be very careful in understanding the different kinds of medications the allopathic medication a patient is taking. Long-term medications have to be maintained, and depending on what the patient has come for, we can switch over from allopathy to Ayurveda in a smooth way. So I don't think we have encountered any serious trouble. It can be managed effectively. The switchover can happen, and most of the time the body tolerates the switchover, and we don't see any kind of side effects as such or any kind of withdrawal problems. It can be done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, and one more question. We just now we are getting vaccinated, so we are having our first dose, second dose, like that. So after getting dose, nowadays in Kerala they are getting COVID problem is there arising again. Again it is arising. So how it takes place?
See, vaccination as a preventive modality doesn't give you any kind of immunity against getting a COVID infection. So even after vaccination, the body, you can get COVID-19. But the good thing is, most of the people who have been vaccinated and those who have got a reinfection, the symptoms have been very minimal. Even in Kerala, even though you find comparatively or relatively, when you look at the all India level, we see more of vaccinated people getting COVID. But even in such a scenario, the symptoms have been very minimal and the deaths have been very, very low. So which also points to the fact that vaccination is very essential, not only for the person who's been vaccinated, but also it helps in preventing the spread also in people who have elderly people in their house and people having serious long-term diseases. It makes sense for all of them to get vaccinated. So recurrence of infection is a potential risk which will always be there. not now or forever, it will be there even you are vaccinated. But in majority of the patients, the symptoms would be very mild, and the ability to spread the infection will be also very minimal.
Right, sir. So there is
Thank you.
another interesting question from one of our participants. Is like, hello, sir. How to treat patients in post-COVID phase if they have been given steroids or any other immunosuppressive medicines during the active phase?
It depends on the patient's symptoms. See, many people who have undergone very mild dosages of steroids, the body will take care of itself and we don't see any serious after effects. But in cases where they have been put on relatively high doses of steroids, if the patient presents with any complication of steroid therapy, like the sugar levels going high, like water retention in the body, sometimes weight gain, all those things, it has to be accordingly dealt. And there are treatments where we can neutralize the after effects of steroid therapy. If at all the patient has those after effects, we can definitely neutralize it with proper Ayurvedic management. See, once you stop taking the steroid, in majority of the cases, the body tries to do the reversal itself without any intervention. But in some cases, you may need to intervene and neutralize the after effects. So that can be managed. It's a case-to-case basis. What is the side effect? What is the type of side effect? Which system it is getting affected? Accordingly, we can manage it effectively.
Right, sir. I think the answer was very clear. Like steroids in the use of പെട്ടെന്ന് switch ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അതിന് complications ഉണ്ടാവോ എന്നുള്ളതായിരിക്കാം maybe എല്ലാവരുടെയും ഒരു doubt. I think even when we switch on to our Ayurveda, as what you usually do, steroids completely stop here, and you really take the allopathic advice to taper it, associating with our medicines. Right, sir. അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു രീതിയിലാണല്ലോ നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും അത് ടേപ്പർ ചെയ്ത് കൊണ്ടുവരാറ്, rather than completely stopping it.
Yes.
Sir, sir, can you please share some of this, because people will be anyway eager to hear it.
About what?
About like the COVID, a simple COVID case which is ഒരു ആക്റ്റീവ് ഫേസിൽ അല്ലാത്ത ഒരാൾക്ക്, ജസ്റ്റ് പോസിറ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരാൾക്ക് കോവിഡ് വന്നു അത് മാറി എന്നുള്ളത് അല്ലാതെ സംതിങ് വിച്ച് ഇസ് കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ്. How effectively Ayurveda can intervene to that condition?
Ayurvedic intervention exclusive or with allopathic healthcare has to be a judgment call a doctor has to make. So there are cases where only Ayurvedic management are good enough. I have treated cases where people had to take minimum doses of steroid and Ayurveda. There are cases where the saturation has gone to the early 90s, 88, 90, 92, where in some cases only with oxygen and Ayurveda people have scraped through. There are cases where they had to have active allopathic intervention, and I have got patients who were taking medicines in an allopathic hospital where they were allowed to take kashayams. And even in cases where saturation were in reasonably low, I cannot say it is very low, up to 85, 88 levels of saturation we have maintained. We have treated only with Ayurveda and some amount of oxygen, which can be given at home itself. And over a period of time, what I have seen is people who have been treated only with Ayurveda, their recovery has been good and the after effects have been very minimal. So there is a fear that it's a normal tendency for most of the people. You get a fever, hook or crook, you are so impatient that you want to get the fever down in a day or two. Otherwise, people get worried. So I have to, one thing with COVID care management, what I have seen is the amount of what you call the counseling you have to give to the patient. I have treated patients where the fever has been hovering from 100, 101, 102 for a week. And the patients were getting impatient. But at the end of the day, the judgment call is whatever may be the nature of fever. If the overall vital parameters are normal, now a patient is having 102 temperature, his saturation is good, his other vital parameters are steady, I don't think we have to worry about. And we can also use the modern investigations and blood tests to reassure the patient. So there are certain, even with that COVID protocol, you have certain inflammatory markers like CRP, IL-6. IL-6 is not needed everywhere, but simple basic tests like simple complete blood count, ESR and CRP can be used to reassure the patient that we are on track. And the impatience to become COVID negative at the earliest, that thing has also be counseled to the patient that the body will. I have got a patient who became COVID negative only after 3 months. There are people who had become COVID negative after 2-3 weeks and sometimes a month. It doesn't mean that the infection is still there.
Right.
So once you cross that threshold, you have, once you are symptomatically fine and you stay at home for a week and then you can come out, it doesn't mean that every time you should have a COVID negative test confirmed. In many cases, the body may be slow in reacting, and you might find cases where people take more than the usual time. I say this with exceptions also. See, 90% people, they become negative after a week, 10 days. There are people who don't become negative after even a 2-week treatment. That doesn't mean that the COVID infection is persisting. All the parameters are normal. All the blood tests are normal. The CT scan is normal. There are inbuilt mechanisms which are getting delayed in the system. So in such cases also, like a normal viral fever, you have to tell the patient and to be isolated, and we have to counsel him regularly and tell him not to worry and the medicines are working. And to convince the patient, we have to regularly do the normal basic blood tests and reassure them.
Right, sir. Sir, there is one query in from the Facebook Live, which is, sir, if vaccination come to children, shall we proceed?
I think it is good to proceed.
Right. And thank you for the answer. And there is another question. What are the red signs to keep in our mind while treating a COVID patient?
According what we have done all these months, the vital, see, temperature, saturation,
Right.
more towards the saturation part. Temperature, saturation are the two main criteria we have to look at when you are treating COVID patients. So inflammatory markers also have to be analyzed periodically. But if the saturation is stable, I would say we can continue and proceed only with Ayurveda. I have seen cases where the patient has 101, 102, 103 temperature, but the saturation is pretty much in the 98, 99 level, and they respond very well with Ayurvedic management. So if they are having comorbidities like diabetes and hypertension, we have to go the extra mile to evaluate them in terms of the, in many cases, we have seen COVID patients who have become positive. When I tell them to check their sugar, maybe because of the COVID pandemic, lot of diabetic patients are not even doing their regular blood tests. So in some cases, you find the diabetes levels are elevated. In such cases, we have to counsel them to get it down with proper medication. And in such cases, we have to be extra careful. So in diabetic patients and aged patients, something like CT scan of the chest is recommended, and based on that criteria also, we look at the treatment management.
Right, sir. So, associating with this, there is another question. Palpitation persisting post-COVID in patients having no cardiac abnormality. What investigations and managements are to be followed?
99% of post-COVID palpitation is because of anxiety,
Right.
stress and anxiety. Unless and until you don't respond to anxiety and stress medications, either allopathy or Ayurveda, then we have to go for further evaluation. Otherwise, in the first phase, majority of the people have anxiety, breathlessness symptoms post-COVID, and that has to be, unless and until you have any other long-term diseases. In general population, healthy people, if they are getting palpitation, breathlessness kind of features, it has to be more to do with the anxiety and the stress part. So if they don't respond to that line of management, then we have to accordingly go for further investigations.
Right, sir. So I'm very happy that you pointed that like anxiety and stress can be a reason for this. And there is another question, like third wave ne vendi Ayurvedam etratolam തയ്യാറെടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്?
It is as good as the first and second wave. We are ready for the challenge, and I would personally feel that Ayurveda has a lot to offer in the future for COVID management, both preventive level and protective level also.
Sir, another question. Are children more vulnerable as it is said now? And what are the precautionary measures that can be taken on this space?
Children will definitely be susceptible for COVID, but what we have seen through is most 99% of the children are basically asymptomatic, and it has researchers and studies have shown that COVID does very minimum damage in children. The worry is once the schools are open and the children get exposed, more than the children, it is the people at home, the elderlies and the deceased people at home who may be susceptible to the infection from the kids. That is the worry, rather than the kids getting affected seriously.
So the kids can be the carriers, sir.
They become, because most of them, there is an inbuilt mechanism, we don't know what is that, but they are least prone to any kind of problems because of COVID. So that has been the case. Even I have seen, I have even treated many kids right from the age of 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. Except for a mild fever, they don't present with any other serious symptoms. And
Right.
most of the time, they are asymptomatic also.
Oh.
So precautionary measures, I don't think in terms of kids, social distancing and all the protocols have to be followed. And in terms of Ayurveda, we can provide them with some immunomodulatory management, where there are certain rasayana therapies which can be given for kids on a long-term basis. So that can be explored, and any good Ayurvedic doctor can help you with that. Right,
sir. Sir, talking about that word immunomodulation. So what is Ayurveda's concept of this immunomodulation? കോവിഡിന്റെ സമയത്ത് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പറഞ്ഞു കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള കുറച്ച് വാക്കുകളാണ് ഇമ്മ്യൂണോമോഡുലേഷൻ. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കുറെ വാട്സാപ്പിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ കുറെ ചെറിയ ബിറ്റ്സ് ഓഫ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെന്റ്സ് കിട്ടിയിരുന്നു. And what is actually
immunomodulation is a word I would only use in a public forum. not in a technical fora, I may not use this term.
Right.
So immunomodulation is a word which has become, it has been even abused to an extent by most of the Ayurvedic doctors. So I would more say that we have to provide them with good Rasayana therapy, and the preventive and protective management of COVID in Ayurveda, as people expect some, see, even in a layman term, they are expecting immuno-boosting medications or modalities. Even the Ayush protocol also has a lot of emphasis on that. Ayurveda, and it is very important to understand that need be basis. So see, we cannot generalize the what you call the immuno boosters, as it is known in the layman's term. In Ayurveda, we call it as Rasayana therapy. It has to be very individualized. Generalization may sometimes not work. So, for example, many people, Chavanaprasham can help. In some people, Brahma Rasayanam can help. There are various modalities. And Ayurveda always gives emphasis on the food, lifestyle, and sleep. These three being one of the best immuno boosters, natural immuno boosters in the body. So at the end of the day, only relying on some kind of medicines or formulations in Ayurveda to boost your immunity may give you very limited results, unless and until you have a good food, dietary regime, good lifestyle, and good sleep. So these three are very important, and these three alone, when complemented with some simple rasayanams, will have a long-term effect.
Sir, ഇതില് അടുത്ത talking about the use of non-veg. എപ്പോഴും ആയുർവേദക്കാർ ഒരു അബദ്ധം പറയുന്ന ആൾക്കാരാണ്. അത് കഴിക്കരുത്, ഇത് കഴിക്കരുത്, നോൺ-വെജ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന ആൾക്കാരാണ്. ബട്ട് വെൻ ഇറ്റ് കംസ് ടു എ കോവിഡ് കേസ്, കോവിഡിന്റെ സമയത്ത് ഒരുവിധം എല്ലാ ആൾക്കാരും യൂസ് ചെയ്തിരുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണ് പ്രോട്ടീൻ റിച്ച് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫുഡ്, യൂസിങ് മോർ ഓഫ് എഗ്സ് ആൻഡ് എവറിഥിങ്. സോ വാട്ട് ഈസ് അവർ റെക്കമെൻഡേഷൻ ടു ദാറ്റ്?
Ayurvedic perspective on fever management, including COVID-19, is very, very simple and clear. So your appetite or your digestive apparatus is always compromised, or it is always low when you are suffering from any kind of fever, including COVID. So Ayurveda always believes in the philosophy of listen to your body, listen to your digestive system. See, in a fever, if you are given a plate of vada or a samosa, you will never be able to eat it. So that doesn't make any sense. And during such conditions, I would always say that your diet should be very minimalistic, where you don't relatively put load on your digestive system, so that the body can work on the other parameters where it is needed. So Ayurveda always says minimalistic diet, very simple diet like kanji and rasam rice, or very basic diet during any kind of fever, including COVID. So the nourishment part, unfortunately, when we look at the nourishment part, I would always tell my patients and my doctors, see, the diet and the nourishment is not max. 2 + 2 doesn't become 4. So it is always the chemistry which has to work inside your system. So how much you eat, how much of non-veg or veg you eat is not the matter. Even see, I'll give you a simple example. I get hundreds of patients who are at least 3 to 4 times a week or on a daily basis they eat non-veg, and still their vitamin B12 is very low.
Yes.
So with no other problems, even the intrinsic factor, everything is okay. So always we have to make sure that what ultimately gets converted is what benefits the body. So in fever-like condition, sorry. So whenever, so Ayurveda always believes that you have to help the body to fight the disease. So in such scenario, when the criteria of Ayurvedic, the fundamental concept of Ayurveda is to help the body to fight the disease rather than hitting the disease directly, what you eat ultimately matters. And even in fever conditions and in COVID conditions, Ayurveda always says that food is not of the primary concern. So whatever you eat, what minimum you eat, the body has to absorb it optimally. So unnecessarily loading the body with proteins and rich, highly nutritious food is not going to help the cause. So that is where we have a difference in allopathy and Ayurveda. And it practically also makes sense.
Yes, I think that this make everyone clear of the concept. Like Ayurveda doesn't think about only the digestion; it thinks more about absorption and assimilation level. So there is another question. So what about effect of COVID vaccine in infertility patients, both male and female?
I don't think it has had any serious effect on infertility. See, exceptions are always there. So that cannot be taken as the norm. So even in India, when you have these universal immunization programs where the kids are given vaccines, you can see reports of kids dying immediately after vaccine and kids getting severely ill after vaccination. So these are all exceptions. When you look at in general level, I don't find vaccination has any effect, any unwarranted effect on the infertility.
Right.
Or unwarranted effect on the fertility of any individual. Sporadic exceptions can happen, but in general, I don't think it has any serious effect.
Right, sir. Sir, post-COVID conditions, I think many of them do think that it is in the post-COVID condition where Ayurveda can have its maximum effect. Post കണ്ടുവരുന്ന കുറേയധികം പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുണ്ട്, പാൽപിറ്റേഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, which you have already told about it. അതല്ലാതെ ജോയിന്റ് ഡിസോർഡേഴ്സ് കാണുന്നവരുണ്ട്, സിവിയർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ക്ഷീണം പോലത്തെ കണ്ടീഷൻസ് ഉള്ളവരുണ്ട്. So in these conditions, what is Ayurveda's approach?
See, Ayurvedic management of, see, post-COVID, whatever symptoms or the adverse events or any problem the patient comes forward with, it has to be treated accordingly. I don't think you have a special medicine for a post-COVID weakness or a special medicine for a post-COVID arthritis. So the regular treatment protocol we use for arthritis or the regular treatment protocol you use for a patient coming with fatigue, so that has to be used. So I don't think you have any special medicines for post-COVID conditions. As far as I have seen, I have not made any differentiation in my treatment approach for post-COVID patients. It's been the same regular protocol.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, there is another. Is there will be any side effects in the future if we had the COVID?
Side effect in future if you had COVID. So as you always know, 95% of the people affected with COVID scrape through without any problem. So the remaining 5% people who get hospitalized, people who take heavy dose medication, in certain cases when the life of an individual is at risk, it's like cancer. You have to take chemo, radiation to ward off cancer at the risk of getting any serious complication. So when you are dealing with very serious life-threatening conditions, there may be medications which are used, and in long term they may have some side effects, but in that way it has to be accordingly managed.
Right.
So it is very individualistic. You cannot generalize any side effects. So I have seen diabetics. I have seen pre-diabetic who have become diabetic after COVID. I have seen people on oral tablets switching over to insulin after COVID. So these have been certain after effects we have seen in general.
Sir, talking about the diabetes, I think that you are treating a lot of diabetic patients. Even post-COVID, even COVID in the phase, there are many people who had this diabetic issue and had the COVID. So in those cases, is it okay for the Ayurvedic medicines to continue?
Yeah.
Modern...
See, post-COVID, many people are switched over to insulin, and in some people they had to go for higher doses of oral medications. But I have seen in many cases where with proper Ayurvedic management we were able to reduce the dosage of allopathic medication, and in many cases people who were put on insulin, they could come out of insulin with Ayurvedic medicines, and in long term they were able to manage with basic allopathic tablets and Ayurveda.
Right.
So it's a case-to-case basis. We cannot generally make a sweeping statement. So case-to-case basis, it can be managed. I can say that it can be managed.
Right. Sir, there is another question which shared to me, like seasonal medicine options on as preventive for the COVID.
I would see there are 2-3 levels of COVID preventive care in Ayurveda. I would always say that depending on a person's exposure, different medications can be given. So for example, you have as an individual, you have many people staying at home, and you are a person who are working outside. You go to your office and there you get exposed, and you come to know that few of your colleagues have been infected, and when you do the test it is negative, but that exposure risk makes you susceptible for the infection, maybe a potential infection to be transmitted to your other members in the family. So in cases where you feel that you have been exposed, there are certain simple medicines like what the Ayush department also has come out with, the Ayush Kwath or the Kapasura Kudineer, which can be used for a brief period of a week or 10 days. So such kind of preventive care from your side, when you feel that you are at a risk, you may have done a train travel and come back to your home. You have been done a long bus journey and you might have come back to your home. So you feel that you may have been exposed. That risk can be eliminated if you take a week of simple medicines like these Ayush Kwath or Kapasura Kudineer. That is one way of looking at it. The second option is people who have come out of COVID, and if they persistently have any complications, it has to be managed, and in a few cases long-term what you call preventive medications can be given. And in kids there are certain medicines which can be given over a period of time, maybe years together, with minimum complications or side effects. Like something like Chyawanprash, it is something kids can use continuously for years, because it is usually given in for long-term usage, and it has very minimal side effect, and it protects the kid.
Right, sir. So, the participants, if there is any questions, we can.
Sir, good afternoon, good evening. நம்ம கல்ஃப் கண்ட்ரீஸ்ல எல்லாம் வந்துங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சினோஃபார்ம் 2 dosages வந்து 6 months before they will put injections. But after nowadays Gulf countries they will use for Pfizer for booster. Already they will done one injection also. But what about India?
No, இப்பத்த ஒரு கணக்கு வச்சு பார்த்தா இப்ப புதுசா ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் வந்திருக்கு. இப்ப 2 வேக்சின் வேற வேற போட்டாலும் பிரச்சனை இல்லைன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கா.
இல்லங்க, நான் என்ன கேக்குறேன்னா ஆல்ரெடி 2 டோசேஜ் ஆல்ரெடி they will take 2 vaccination. இப்போ 6 monthsக்கு அப்புறம் பூஸ்டர்னு சொல்லி Pfizer போட்டுட்டு இருக்காங்க.
See, other I have to see. There are 2 things. One is Sinopharm. Sinopharm, ella it has adrudhu oru China vaccine irukkaranaala adrudhu oru quality is not well known because they have not given proper enna solradhu basic data onum kodukradilla. Appadi oru risk irukkaranaala I think in Gulf countries they have gone for the booster. But China Sinopharm tha edutondrukka. See, that is called ange and oru country la eduthiruka. But adu ella edathilum appadi irukkanadilla because when you look at big countries like India, America, Europe la ella paatha and alavukku 2 level vaccine is giving you enough protection nu sollu. Booster வேணாமா வேண்டாமான்னு அது ஃபியூச்சர்ல தான் முடிவெடுக்க முடியும். பட் இப்பத்த நிலைமையில பெரிய பெரிய கண்ட்ரீஸ்ல பூஸ்டர் தேவையில்லைன்னு தான் சொல்லியிருக்கா இப்பத்துக்கு.
எடுத்திருக்காங்க.
ஈவன் யூகேலும் வந்திருக்கு. இது அமௌண்ட் ஆஃப் ஆன்டிபாடிஸ் ஜெனரேட் ஆகிறது வருஷக்கணக்கு இருக்குந்துச்சு. இப்ப இதெல்லாம் இட் இஸ் டூ லிமிட்டட் டைம். இப்ப என்ன நம்ம போன மார்ச் இருந்து இப்ப ஆகஸ்ட் 1.5 வருஷம் தான் ஆயிருக்கு. சோ போக 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 ரிசர்ச் போக போக நமக்கு அது தெரியும். பட் இப்பத்த ஒரு பொசிஷன்ல 2 வேக்சின் போதும் லாங் டர்ம் இம்யூனிட்டிக்குன்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க.
ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. அதான் நிறைய பேருக்கு அது கொடுத்துட்டு இருக்காங்க.
அல்ல கல்ஃப் அது ஏதோ பர்டிகுலர் இது எதுக்குன்னு நமக்கும் ஐடியா இல்ல. பட் அந்த ஒரு கண்ட்ரிக்கு அந்த ஒரு
2 டோசேஜ் வந்துங்க நிறைய பர்சன்ஸ் வந்து அஃபெக்டட் கோவிட் ஏ சிம்டம்ஸ்.
இல்ல நம்ம என்ன சொல்றதுன்னா ஒரு வேக்சினேஷன்னால கோவிட் வராம இருக்கிறதுன்னு நினைக்கவே கூடாது யாரும். எத்தனை பூஸ்டர் போட்டாலும் எக்ஸ்போஸ் ஆனா வந்துதான் செய்யும். பட் வந்தா அது மைல்டா இருக்கும். வேற அவனுக்கு பாதிக்கிற அளவுக்கு அது ஸ்ப்ரெட் ஆகாது. எப்ப எந்த அளவுக்கு வேக்சின் போட்டாலும் கோவிட் வராம இருக்குன்னு நம்ம 100% ஃபுல் ப்ரூஃப் கிடையாது. இப்ப கேரளால இப்ப முன்னாடி சொன்ன மாதிரி கேரளால நிறைய பேர் கேரளால இந்தியால ஹையஸ்ட் வேக்சின் முடிச்ச மேக்ஸிமம் ஆளுங்கள் கேரளால தான் இருக்கா.
ஆமா.
சோ அப்படி ஒரு ஃபுல் ப்ரூஃப் மெக்கானிசம் கிடையாது. பட் போறனால என்னன்னா ரிஸ்க் குறையும். ஐசியூ போகிற நிலைமை வராது.
இப்ப ஆஃப்டர் கோவிட் வந்துங்க பால்பிட்டேஷன் இதாகுது இல்லைங்களா, அவங்க வந்து இந்த பெர்சன்டைன் கார்டினல் இந்த மாதிரி மெடிசன்ஸ் எடுக்க முடியுமா?
இப்பத்துக்கு பிரச்சனை ஒன்றும் நான் பாக்குற பேஷண்ட்ஸ்ல எல்லாம் எல்லா விதமான பேஷண்ட்ஸ், ஈவன் ஃபிட்ஸ் உள்ள பேஷண்ட்ஸ், கார்டியாக் பேஷண்ட்ஸ், கிட்னி ஃபெயிலியூர், நியூரோ ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் எல்லாரும் நம்ம பேஷண்ட்ஸ் ரெகுலர் எல்லாரும் வேக்சினேஷன் பண்ணிருக்காயா. மேக்சிமம் ஒரு காய்ச்சல் பிரச்சனை என்ன தெரியுமா, காய்ச்சல் ஒரு வரதுக்கு ஒரு வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. பட் முக்காவாசி பிரச்சனை ஆங்ஸைட்டி என்னன்னா வாட்ஸ்அப் நியூஸ், தேவையில்லாத நியூஸ் கேட்டு கேட்டு ஒரு ஹிஸ்டரியா கிரியேட் பண்ணும். வேக்சின் எடுத்தா நிறைய பேருக்கு என்னன்னா மென்டலி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் ஐ ஆம் டயர்ட்னு வந்துடும். மத்தபடி மைல்டா ஒரு ஜுரம் வரும், ஒரு குரோசின் மாத்திரை போட்டா அது கிளியர் ஆயிடும். பட் முக்காவாசி பிரச்சனைகள் எல்லாரும் நம்மவே கலப்பி விட்டது. தேவையில்லாத வாட்ஸ்அப் நியூஸ், தேவையில்லாத சோசியல் மீடியா நியூஸ், இது பார்த்து 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 எவ்ரி செகண்ட். இப்ப எனக்கு இப்ப ஒரு எனக்கு வரும்னு மனசுக்குள்ள ஒரு ஃபீலிங் வந்துருச்சுன்னா வந்துதான் தீர்வது. தட் இஸ் அவர் மைண்ட் கேம். அதுக்கு ஹிஸ்டீரியான்னு சொல்லுவா. மாஸ் ஹிஸ்டீரியா கிரியேட் பண்ணும்போது முக்காவாசி ஆளுங்களுக்கு அதுதான் பிரச்சனை.
அப்புறம் ஆஃப்டர் கோவிட் வந்து நிறைய பேருக்கு வந்து பவுல் இன்ஃபெக்ட் ஆயிருக்குங்கிற மாதிரி சொல்றாங்க. But gastroenterology say
அது see after COVID அதெல்லாம் கேஸ் டு கேஸ் பேசிஸ் நம்ம. பட் அப்படி ஒரு ஜெனரல் ஆயிட்டு நம்ம ஒரு பேப்பரோ ஒரு ரிசர்ச் லெவல்ல நம்ம ஒன்றும் பார்த்தது இல்ல. மேபி போஸ்ட் கோவிட் ஹெவி டோஸ் மெடிகேஷன்ஸ்னால அதனால எல்லாம் பவல்ஸ் இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் எல்லாம் பவல்ஸ் இரிட்டேட் ஆயிட்டு வேற மாதிரி இன்ஃபெக்ஷனுக்கு சசப்டபிலிட்டி. இப்போ ஒரு என்ன சொல்றது, ஒரு ஸ்டிராய்டு தெரப்பி ஒரு 2 வாரம் 3 வாரம் தொடர்ந்து எடுத்த ஒரு பேஷண்ட்டுக்கு இன்ஃபெக்ஷன் வர்ற ரிஸ்க் கூடும். இப்ப ஒரு ஸ்டிராய்டு மெடிசன் சாப்பிட்ற ஆளுக்கு பக்கத்து ரூம்ல ஒரு ஆளு தும்பினாலே அவனுக்கு சளி வந்துடும். அந்த அளவுக்கு பாடி வீக் ஆகும். அப்படியெல்லாம் ஆகிறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. பட் இப்போ ஒரு 1.5 வருஷம் நம்ம என்ன பார்த்திருக்கோமோ அதுல இன்னும் நிறைய டேட்டா வந்தோண்டே இருக்கு. பட் ஒரு கன்க்ளூசிவா இதனால இது வரும்னு சொல்ற அளவுக்கு இன்னும் நம்ம ரெடி ஆகலமா.
அது அந்த பாடி டிராவலிங் இது.
Every day we are getting new facts and figures about COVID, so it's an ongoing thing. Conclusion ne kediyadu. Every time there are new facts coming out every day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think there is no other questions. Sir, that was so informative.
Thank you.
And right from the depth of my heart, I would say that every data, like sir parnja ella karyangalum was completely according to your experience in your clinical practice. Rather than taking an academician, a clinician who was there facing a patient and doing the work on it, any command from them matters more. And it was a great privilege for all of us to be there with you, sir, because all of your words, everything was so informative and it was right scientific also. And for everyone, and especially from the side of Sharanya and Akshata Foundation, I would like to thank you deep from my heart. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your information. Thank you for sharing everything with us. And I would appreciate your the patience for hearing all the questions and answering it in such a detailed way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to always remind everyone that the great support what in the early COVID times we got from our late chairman Padma Shri Krishna Kumar ji, that has always to be highlighted, where he gave us that confidence and he made the right moves in giving us in helping the Ayurvedic community as a whole to face to the challenge of COVID-19. So that one point I would like to highlight, and I will always be ever grateful for his continuous support, what he had done for the greater cause of Ayurveda. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Sir.
Good night.
Thank you, Akshat Foundation and all the participants for being with us and sharing all your doubts. We'll meet again next week, next Thursday evening, with a new host, new doctor. So thank you for all the presence. Thank you once again.